Welcome to a special edition of SeahawkTalk. I'm here with head men's lacrosse coach Pat Cooney and senior on the men's lacrosse team Liam Cooney. I'm going to be talking with them about what it's like to be involved in lacrosse at Salve.
I grew up in New York where lacrosse was prevalent and played at a young age in grammar school. And then in high school, started playing more seriously and just fell in love with the sport. Eventually, college, I played and had the opportunity to coach at a young age, college level. 31 years later, I'm here with you today.
Definitely grew up in a household of a lacrosse family, obviously. I got into lacrosse pretty much from the time, mostly because of my dad, of course, and his background, his love of the sport. From the time that I could walk, I really had a lacrosse stick in my hand. Started really playing like in an organized capacity in about first grade. Played all the way through, elementary school, middle school, onto high school at Portsmouth High School, and then now here at Salve. So it has been great. It's been a lot of fun being a part of the lacrosse family. All my siblings, my mom, my dad, over the years, they would come to my games. I go to their games with them growing up. And then now also having my sister here at Salve. She's a freshman on the women's team. It's a great opportunity. She gets to come to my games this year as we're both Seahawk student athletes. I get to go to her games. So definitely part of lacrosse family. It really is in all of our blood. Yeah.
And what's it like, when you run into each other on campus and having a sibling at the same institution that you're at?
Yeah, it's definitely funny, especially the beginning of the year. It was kind of like, awkward isn't the right word, but we would kind of just like, smile at each other because it's not that big of a campus, 2,500 students. You would just kind of see different people, or in my case, I'd see my sister by chance, whether it be the library or the weight room or just walking through campus, whatever it is. But definitely cool, good experience. I'll just ask her how she's doing, say hello, of course. And then once again, it kind of just reaffirms the fact to us that, we've all kind of known Salve our entire lives. I've been here for now 5 years now. This is my 5th year, and she's a freshman student athlete. So she's finally here with me. So definitely a cool experience. And then also, like I said, just love going to her games when I can, when it works out with my schedule. And I know that she loves going to mine when it works out with hers.
What's some advice that you've given Nora in her first 2 semesters as a college lacrosse athlete at Salve?
With all the kids in sports in general, I always use the term have fun. I think that's why you get involved with the sport in the first place. And that's what motivates people to be involved with the team. Yes, on the field, but just have fun.
Yeah, I've told her the same. Work hard, do your best. You want to be someone that individually can, better your team and collectively as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, you play the sport because you have fun with it. You play the sport because you make good relationships with it, and you can learn a thing or two from the entire process. I think she's having a lot of fun so far. I've had a lot of fun here. That is kind of like why you get into it. And then usually if you're enjoying yourself, you're putting your best foot forward, everything else kind of falls into place. So that's the advice that I have given her, and then I'll continue to give her. Yeah.
What is it that has kept you coming back to Salve?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, academics, of course. So I got my undergraduates last year, and then I'll finish my master's this year. So obviously, student athlete, that's first and foremost. But really, I have been at Salve my entire life, really. So, one more year to me at this point, it's just, it's one more year. But really, we've had a great culture here the past couple of years. We have a great senior group this year. We have 15 seniors total, 2 graduate seniors, and then 13 fourth-year seniors, if you want to call them that. And this year in particular, it's been great to see sort of the culture continue to build and lead to on-field success. And I knew that this year, in terms of on the field, we would have a great chance to compete in the NEWMAC and just win some games. And thankfully, we've been able to do that thus far. So definitely, that's another motive that made me want to come back and play one more year here. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And speaking of which, you have a really impressive record right now. You have played some really close and competitive games. What would you attribute that success to? And this is to both of you.
Yeah. I'll start off with that. I would say, first of all, our coaching staff, we have about 4 or 5 great coaches that really put a lot of time and effort to us throughout the entire year, not just the spring, but the fall, the summer, and then kind of like that middle period of the dead of winter. But then, like I just said as well, like that senior class group, he always talks about it that And it does reign true whenever you have a good number of seniors who all, kind of have the same goals, who all get along with each other and just really want to win and be the best they can be. Usually success happens, and it has for us, thankfully, so far this year. So I would attribute it to the coaching staff, certainly, as well as the senior group, who really, have set forth a good weight room culture, a good on-field culture, a good practice culture that has led us to having success this year, and hopefully will continue to do so in future years.
At our senior dinner, I talked about their shared experiences. And I think with all teams, all organizations, when you do have individuals that care together, love together, empathize together, whether it is the weight room, the field, the academic arena, you see results. And I think that closeness, the bonds the seniors have forged together over the 4 and 5 years in some cases really comes out on the field. Yes, the skill sets, but more the drive, the determination, the effort that they put forward is stellar.
Back to the Wheaton games, what was going through everyone's head at that point?
Yeah, well, the Wheaton game, it's a great question. We've had a lot of great games over the past 2 years with Wheaton. We used to play them a lot non-conference, but that was a bunch of years ago. But now being in the NEWMAC with them, last year they beat us in 2 close games. One of those games was a 1-goal game. One of those games was a 2-goal game. So coming into this year, that's certainly a game we kind of had marked on our schedule. And when the game was quickly approaching, especially that week, we knew that it was going to be a close game. Obviously, this time it was a 1-goal overtime game in our favor, thankfully. But we knew the whole week, we knew the whole game that it was going to be close, and it was back and forth the entire game. Definitely, if I was watching that game, I probably would have been on the edge of my seat too. Just thankful this year that we were able to pull it out by 1 goal. That's a great team. Our teams really are evenly matched. You can see that every time we play. And thankfully, we were just able to pull it out this time. Yeah.
And in terms of a coaching perspective, what was going through the coaching staff?
I thought it was fun. It was a fun game to be involved with. I've done these for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. And I turned to Vic, our head athletic trainer, at one point, and I think it was the 3rd quarter, and I said, this is an awesome game. When you see teams go back and forth with the lead, 1 goal, 2 goals, back the other way, another goal, there's nothing better. You can tell both teams care. They put forth the effort. I think you saw that in the fans, them cheering the efforts all the way through. And credit to Wheaton, who put on a great game, competitive atmosphere. And I think the end result of us winning makes it all the more special.
In the rest of the season, what are some of your goals? What are you anticipating from the different schools you're seeing? What are your thoughts?
At the end of the day, our goal really hasn't changed like it was in the beginning of the fall and like it was in the beginning of the spring. We're 11-2 now, which is great, but those games are behind us. We got a lot ahead of us, and that main goal is competing and winning a NEWMAC championship. So we'll do our best like we have been this entire year to keep working hard, keeping mentally our focus straight, and just winning a NEWMAC championship at the end of the day that's the real goal that we would like to achieve.
Liam said it best. Yes, we want to compete for that championship, but we talk of team values as well: love, family, work ethic, and by trying to be the best we can individually and collectively be, that will get us to our goal, whether we win or lose. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to win that cup.
So not only are you involved in lacrosse, you are involved in many other things on campus. Can you talk about some of that as well?
Sure. Well, my involvement this year somewhat died down because I am a 5th-year student athlete. But that being said, this year, for example, and for the past 5 years now, I've been involved with the school newspaper, the Salve Mosaic student newspaper. So this year, I've had the pleasure of being on the e-board as the public relations coordinator. So I've written tons of different articles throughout the year for the newspaper. Just really I enjoy writing. It's something I like to do. I was a student ambassador one summer. That was probably my favorite position I've had here outside of lacrosse at Salve, where essentially I just worked for the Office of Admissions, toured different students around and their families for summer 2023. That was, had a great experience with that. And I've done a bunch of other things as well. I won't mention them, but more than anything, it just kind of goes along with like being a student athlete here, kind of putting yourself out there, immersing yourself. And it's like hard work, and it's something that you don't have to do. You're putting more on your plate. I've definitely realized that, but I've also realized that the more you put in, the more you get out of it. So I've had great experiences with that. and met a lot of great people within athletics, obviously being a student athlete, but also with outside of athletics, students and different faculty and staff here on campus.
Can you tell us a little bit about your graduate program?
Sure. Yeah. So my graduate program, I'll have a degree in international relations. I began that last September, and then I'll finish it this May. So it's like one of Salve Regina's 4+1 programs. So last year as an undergraduate senior, academics were definitely difficult because I was doing student teaching. I was a captain for the lacrosse team, and then I was doing my master's program. So it's definitely been a little lighter this year, if you can sort of imagine that as a fifth-year senior. But I love the coursework. It's definitely something that will help me in my future career paths. And then, yeah, I'm excited to have my second graduation this year and finish that off and, have all those memories and all those academic experiences to look back upon, pretty soon. Yeah.
And do you know what comes next after Salve? Are you going to stay involved in lacrosse somehow?
Yeah. So next year I'll be teaching high school history locally in the local area somewhere in Rhode Island. Certainly I've told him many times, I'd love to really venture into the college path, whether that's, becoming a professor, getting a doctorate, or however else that might look, maybe working in college admissions one day. So when I allude to the international relations degree, adding to that future career path, I definitely see the value there. In terms of my involvement with lacrosse, I'll still be involved in some capacity. I mean, obviously he's going to be here next year, and I'll be an alum, so certainly I'll be rooting on the men's teams, going to a few games here and there with some of my past teammates. And then obviously with my sister being a freshman this year, she's got a bunch of years coming up. She'll be a sophomore next year, of course. So I'll be going to plenty of men's games next year, plenty of women's games, and then still certainly just being involved in whatever capacity, checking in on scores, and just keeping sort of a pulse of the athletic program overall.
And back to the senior class, the men's lacrosse senior class. Can you recall a specific memory with all of them that's sort of core Salve Regina men's lacrosse?
Sure. I would honestly just say, and I think a couple other guys would say this, just like I mentioned, our weight room culture, we, it's difficult in there. We push ourselves really hard, physically and mentally it's difficult. When we do all of these lifts together, we really just have fun with it. We just love spending time together, as he's, noted correctly a bunch of times. We love just working out together, laughing together, all those different things. And then eventually seeing the progress that individually and collectively we can make. So that's definitely a good memory of mine, just hanging out with your friends in the weight room and pushing each other during a lift in the weight room. And that pays dividends to it's not just about getting bigger, faster, stronger. It's really about, growing a team culture, growing a bond and becoming closer together as teammates.
I think for me, one of my favorites was 3 summers ago, we took the team to Ireland, and the senior group was in the rising sophomore summer. And it was just a great experience. We were there for 10 days, played a lot of lacrosse as part of a tournament associated with the U19 World Championship in Limerick. And then I think on that trip, what we did, one of the funnest memories I have of this senior group was taking them to Catherine Macaulay's original mission in Dublin. And it was great in the sense of, in all seriousness, it taught the students the history of the Sisters of Mercy, but also galvanized their individual interests academically, why they're part of an institution like Salve Regina, big picture wise. And I thought that led to success, not just on the field, but in the academic arena, where today these guys have a 3.7 GPA average. 4 of the seniors had a 4.0 last fall in their respective majors. And that was just a fun trip. Had a lot of parents there as well. So I think it was great memories for families all the way around.
Liam, when you graduate this year, looking back on all of your success at Salve, certainly your NEWMAC success, your success in previous, the CCC, what is it that you're going to be most proud of?
I'll probably just be most proud of just really the relationships and all the positive experiences I've had here. I haven't had too much time to kind of reflect just yet, but certainly I know that that'll be forthcoming in the coming months when it all is said and done. But I'd say just the relationships, the friendships that I've formed here, as well as taking the time and having the ability to look back on all the experiences I've had here, on the field, off the field, socially, academically, whatever else it is. I think once it's all said and done, I'll have plenty of time to reflect and just really just enjoy those memories that I've had and those relationships that I've formed here.
Just want to ask you, what is it that the Salve public might not know about the Cooneys and lacrosse at Salve?
Sure. I'd say, obviously, we're just like a typical family who happens to love lacrosse. Many of us, my dad, and then plus me, we've been here for a long time. We've been involved for a long time here with Salve Athletics and specifically Salve Lacrosse, men's and women's now. And I think that obviously we've seen a lot of the school change. We've seen a lot of the athletic department change, a lot of the men's and women's programs change. But, at the end of the day, we're just typical family who happens to love lacrosse. I have 3 younger sisters, so we are a big family. But yeah, just typical family who happens to love lacrosse and definitely has a lot of involvement at Salve Regina. Yeah.
It's been a great journey, with all of our children. Athletics in general, not just lacrosse. Lacrosse is a big part of it, but they've all participated in a lot of different sports over the years. And it's been very rewarding. Like Liam said, the relationships at the end of the day that are forged in these areas, it's just been outstanding. And it has been fun to watch the school grow as a younger institution and really blossom over the years that I've been here, over 20 years now.
Thinking about next year, you'll be graduated. What are your hopes for Nora in her progression as a student, as an athlete, in lacrosse in general?
Yeah. Well, like we kind of mentioned earlier, more than anything, if you're playing a sport, you should just have fun with it. That is why you do it. And certainly it is very competitive at the college level. You're trying to get on the field and you're trying to help your team win as best you can. She's having a great experience this year so far, and I just hope that she continues to do so, gets a little more comfortable in her own skin, and helps her and that freshman group, that underclassmen group, can hopefully continue to elevate that program. And then just, academically and socially, just, enjoy yourself and have those experiences that I was able to have and those relationships that I was able to make. I hope she's able to do the same. I always talk about some of the alumni, and I have to shout them out because I told them I would, but my good friend Cameron Stein, I told him I would shout about today because I told him I was going on SeahawkTalk, and we always talk about how, like, next year we'll go to a couple games together, like the Roger Williams game, like we'll absolutely be there. And those are the kind of relationships that, although like someone like myself is moving on, I still have all those relationships from the past 5 years. And eventually she'll have those same relationships. She might not see it now. That's a little bit of a ways for her, but she'll have those one day. So if she has the ability to have a good group of friends that she can go to games with, 5, 6, 7 years from now, come back and see where the program is and see how she's kind of elevated it and the school itself, that's what she could hope for, and that's what I would wish for her. Yeah.
And do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our SeahawkTalk viewers?
Just like I said, we're having a good year, but not done yet. So hoping for doing our best for a NEWMAC championship and seeing where the rest of the road takes us.
Thank you so much for joining us on SeahawkTalk.